Thank you, Chair. Very good afternoon to all the participants. Greetings from Nairobi, Kenya. My name is Olufunso Somorin. I am a regional principal officer with the African Development Bank, covering a number of countries within the East African region. And let me use this medium to also extend our appreciation as a bank to our partner, the organizers of this event, ICPAC, for inviting us to share with the rest of you. I think the topic today is very pertinent, clean energy. And I'm sure every one of us has a personal view about what it is. I'm hoping in the course of today's conversation, we can agree on both what it is, but also what it is not. And that for me is very important, because if we're not very clear about definitional issues or exactly in the context of our countries, we may fall into the trap of lumping everything in there. And I think we want to avoid that. And I'm happy that one of the presenters will be talking about the policy side. So for me, let me start off by saying that in today's conversation, I want to really much link it to the adaptation part. And why is this important? When you do a quick screening of all the nationally determined contributions of all African countries that have been submitted to the UNFCCC, that's a UN agency for climate change, and you will see that a very good number of countries have alluded to the place of clean energy. So we may also call it renewable energy interchangeably. And that is largely important for both mitigation, net zero type of conversation, but also we've also seen how it is also important for adaptation as well. And I'm going to come back to that in my presentation. So in the interest of time, the bank has been one of the biggest investment agency, or what you call lenders, supporting renewable energy penetration in Africa. As we speak today, we have over $12 billion worth of ongoing projects across all the African countries on all forms of renewable energy. So those of you who are in Kenya, you may have heard of Lake Turkana wind power project. You may also have heard of Menengai geothermal as well as Kopere solar projects. So across the different energy sources, the bank has been very active. On the financing side, I think what we've seen over the years is, if we were having this conversation 15 years ago, I am very sure that some of us would have said that renewable energy is too expensive and we can't do it. Even though we have the resource endowment on the continent, there was a question of the cost. And the narrative around the cost about 15 years ago was very much about it's too expensive. But over the years, people will tell you that has changed. Today, the tariff system around some of the renewable are among the cheapest when you compare to non-renewable. Increasingly as well, we've seen how countries have developed policies to integrate renewable energy or clean energy into the system. And some of them have made tremendous progress. There's room for improvement. What we've seen is virtually every African country is very much interested in investing in renewable energy in their country, but also we've seen how the policy incentives in those countries are beginning to attract both public and private capital in that country. Then the question for me today is clean energy all about climate change mitigation? Is it all about energy assets? And the answer would be no, absolutely not. We recognize the positive contribution of clean energy to climate change mitigation globally. But oftentimes that narrative is not complete. We ignore the fact that if you think about a water project that is meant to increase agricultural productivity in a semi-arid region within the Horn of Africa. But this water infrastructure that you need for irrigation, for domestic use, needs to be powered by a solar panel pump system. And in that context, you look at the solar pump the solar energy as a mitigation project. But the truth about it is that the solar energy is contributing to water, irrigation, and making agriculture possible in a very climate vulnerable space. And that itself is adaptation. And it's very important that as we look into the climate finance flows to a lot of clean energy projects, we're able to make sense of the value or the contribution to adaptation on the ground. Why is this important? When you look at our continent at the moment, when you also look at the work that EPAC does, it raises the profile of adaptation. Adaptation to climate change becomes, and it still is, a policy priority for us as well as operational priority. So to the extent that we can use clean energy to foster adaptation programs and adaptation results on the ground, I think that is a new narrative that makes us, that makes it very important for us to embrace it. 1 minute left. I just want to say again that the work that the bank has been doing is both on the layer of supporting policy frameworks in the country, but also supporting creating the enabling environment that is required to mobilize climate, not just investment flows, both from public sector and the private sector for it. So I like to leave you with the sense that when we look at clean energy, it's good for the environment. It helps us to achieve our greenhouse gas emission reduction targets. But beyond that, it is a very good contributing factor to our ability to achieve adaptation on the ground. Thank you.